Hello and welcome to Rubbin Minds. My name is Hero Daniels. Many thanks for joining us. We're going to dive heads first into the issue on ground, which has been the ongoing protest that started since the 1st of August 2024. Some people call it the End Bad Governance protest. Other people call it End Hunger. But whatever the hashtag is, the truth of the matter is that Nigerians are clamoring for a better country. Exactly by 7 a.m. this morning, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, addressed the nation, where he stated what the government was doing to make sure that the requests and the demands of people, the common Nigerians, are being met. And he also sort of talked about the policies that have been implemented, and he took credit for removal of subsidy and the implication that it's having on the economy. And he also sort of urged a lot of people to just stop the ongoing protest. So we're going to dissect not just the ongoing protest, but also dissect the president's speech. And to talk about bad governance, what do Nigerians want? I have in the studio an activist and citizen who has been very, very vocal in the course of this protest, Just Adetun Ono Jabi. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Also joining us is a lawyer and human rights activist, Festus Ogun. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, so let's dive head straight in. Adetun, you have been very, very vocal, from the 2023 elections, up until even yesterday, and we've seen a couple of videos on social media where you were protesting with other protesters and also having a sort of debacle with the military because of what happened close to the toll gate and everything. What do you make of the ongoing protest before we talk about how the president is addressing it?
Thank you very much for that question. So the only thing I can make out of this ongoing protest is this is exactly where the government has pushed us to. This is exactly what we need to do now. If we have to keep quiet for the government to keep doing their own thing, by the time we wake up, definitely more things would have been completely messed up. So what is expected of the citizens of Nigeria to do is exactly what they're doing. Apart from the fact that it's their fundamental right, they also have to be a check on the government. Government is not seeing a lot of things, and the citizens are the ones bearing the pain and the consequences of their negligence. So people have come out to speak that there's problem in the land, and obviously they've done the right thing. Thumbs up to everybody who came out. They did the best thing to do.
So I also did notice that you are also clamoring for the support of the president, and you are pushing the blame to the people surrounding him. So do you believe that his team are not necessarily efficient and he should change his team?
The next thing that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu should do now, first of all, let me give him that credit, accepting responsibility that he is aware that we are suffering. And not only accepting that responsibility in the past 1 year, His Excellency, sir, you have to accept the responsibility for the past 8 years plus this one, making 9 years, because he openly told us that he brought Buhari. So accept whatever thing or whatever failure Buhari caused this government and accept 1 year, making 9 years. The fact that he has accepted that is fine for me. Now, what was that question again? Sorry.
You categorically stated that the president must not fail.
There's no way he would fail, because we are definitely, this country is on a nosedive, and this is definitely our last chance. But the problem we are having right now is the people that are working with the presidency are definitely not the people that should be working with the presidency. Nigeria is not Lagos. Nigeria is not about so person was loyal to me, I'm trying to compensate this person with some specific positions. We are in a very, very sensitive situation right now. We need technocrats, we need experts, we need people who understand the pain to the bone marrow. We need people who are loyal to making Nigeria great, not people who are investors, people who have invested one thing or the other in Asiwaju's hierarchy to presidency, and then this is the time they feel they should be compensated. No. So the very first problem that Tinubu has to do to ensure or guarantee us that change is for sure and is guaranteed is to dissolve that cabinet.
Okay, so we're going to get back to it and we'll talk about specifics, because I know there are certain ministers that you've called out personally. Mr. Festus, so talk to me. What do you make of the president's speech? Do you think it addresses what the core issue is, which is hunger most especially, food inflation, and I think all these things are all interconnected as a result of the removal of fuel subsidy?
I think that the statement of the president is completely disappointing. When we started the protest on August 1st, I participated in it actively up to yesterday. I had been clamoring that, look, the president needs to speak to us, that as citizens of this country, we have spoken very loudly. We presented our charters of demand. What we expected the president to do is to speak to us. But it seemed that the president was only interested in talking and not necessarily providing the solutions to the challenges that have been rivaling the country. I think that looking at the statement appears to be like a manifesto of a political party. The statement has not addressed the core issues that the protesters have been clamoring for. Looking at it critically, the statement is merely a political statement. In fact, look, the president was even talking about people that were killed. The president never envisaged that those people that were killed were slaughtered by state agents, by security agencies. The president is not talking about how he would cut the cost of governance. The president is not talking about how the number of ministers will be drastically reduced. So why should we have 2 youth ministers in this country? Why should we have 2 labor ministers in this country? And the president is saying, look, the good people of Nigeria should be patient, that things will get better. He's telling the people of Nigeria to endure, that things will get better. While he's telling us to endure, over there in the seat of power, there is no sort of sacrifices that are being made at all. The court of governance is not cut to size in any manner, and is asking us to endure this time. What we are saying is that, looking at the 10 charters of demand that the protesters have placed on ground, the statement of the president has not addressed even one out of it, and which in my view justifies why the protest should still continue. So you're advocating that the protest should continue? The president needs to address the real demands of the protester. It is not just enough to speak. The president said a lot without saying anything. What Nigerians are saying is that you are not just going to give us a manifesto after you've been elected over a year. You cannot continue to tell our people to wait after you've been elected over a year. What our people want is that we want an end to the hardship. Okay. And when you come to say, look, these people have been agitating for the past 3 days. Today made it the 4th day. The president came this morning. I was expecting, in good conscience, if the president has made some pronouncement that clearly addresses the issues that are being agitated for on the streets, I would have backed down from the struggle, at least for now. So what you're basically saying is that there was no real concession, because he did list out... It was a political statement. It was like a manifesto of a political party. There were some very strong points that he made, in the area of like debt servicing, where usually we use up to 97% to service debt, and now it's down to 68%. He also made mention of the fact that the people that were benefiting from the fuel subsidy and all of those leakages have now been blocked, which now doubled the revenue they collected, in 2024 as opposed to 2023. He also talked about the student loans and, the students that can now access money and, education sort of taking the next level with that. There were certain points. But what you're trying to say is that he did not make any real concession. So what would be a real concession to you? What do you expect the president to say in the next few days? What is the real concession for the everyday Nigerian? The people of Nigeria are saying that we have a high level of inflation in the country. An average Nigerian can barely afford the daily bread. It is not just enough to make statements. It is not just enough to say, look, we have programs, we are sharing money to people. So in specific terms, what do you want the president to do? Just 2 things. We want the removal, we want the subsidy to return. Because the problem is not the subsidy. We have to get it clear. The problem is not the subsidy. The problem is the corruption that bedeviled the subsidy arrangement. The subsidy, in my view, is not the problem.
So you want subsidy back?
I want it back.
Okay.
We want the fuel price to return to normal, to where it was before the president came in. These are one out of just the 10 demands that the protesters have made. And out of all the demands, the president in his speech has not successfully addressed one. Okay. All we have been seeing is promises upon promises, like a manifesto. It's not just working for me.
All right, Adetun, taking off from what he just talked about, he did mention, I think at some point he said that the government should cut down costs. I want to pick up from what you also said when you said that you don't think the president has a supporting team, ministers. I know that you particularly called out the minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike. You did say that he got to that position simply because he delivered his constituency, and that is why he is there. However, you are not exactly a fan of Minister Wike. So are you saying that there are certain ministers that should not be in President Tinubu's cabinet?
Oh, obviously there are certain ministers who shouldn't be there. Let me address the issue of Wike. Wike might be functional, Wike might be working, but for me, I want to make everybody understand that these people are servants serving us, and we are the leaders of tomorrow, and then we are the ones they're doing everything for. So if you want to approach us, let there be some level of humility, let there be some level of connection, let there be some level of respect. Wike, you cannot continue to be arrogant on the people that you are serving. You cannot serve us our rights with a level of arrogance. And for the people who are in the cabinet, for crying out loud, Minister of Youth, for example, one of the problems that I have as a citizen is the fact that there is moral decadence in our society. Our youths are not being engaged. The ones who are educated don't have jobs. They have taken the baton, breaking the chain of poverty into their own hands. They have started to look for every form and avenue to make money. What is the Minister of Youth doing, for example? What has she ever said? What have they brought to the table to solve this problem? Because we cannot be talking about infrastructure, and definitely our children are becoming prostitutes, drug addicts. Our musicians are in their own lane, making their money, doing their own thing, but they are negatively influencing children that should concentrate on their education and breaking the yoke of poverty. So for me, the people in Asiwaju's cabinet are definitely not the kind of people this country needs now. Okonjo-Iweala is abroad making Nigeria proud. Akinwumi is on the international field making Nigeria proud. And then my father is in the country compensating people who have worked with him for the past 20 years, 30 years, and invested in him getting into presidency. We are talking that we need experts. This is a theater. Nigeria needs surgery. We are talking about bringing experts into the theater and let us fix this problem. And you are telling me to go and bring my family member to come and be soothing the pain? No, we don't need people to soothe the pain. We need to tear this country apart, dissect it, find the figures of the problem and address it. Let this country heal. Nigeria is deep rotting and we need to dig it to the root and let it heal. Asiwaju is not the cause of our problem. Asiwaju inherited the problem. Asiwaju also contributed to the problem by bringing Buhari. So everything plus the deep-rooted, rotten one, plus the one he inherited, plus the one he claimed that he could fix by going for the president, everything is on his head. He has to fix it.
All right. I just want to quickly take the opinion of a legal practitioner that is joining us from our Abuja studio, Mustafa Ibrahim Mustafa. Welcome to the program. So,
thank you very much.
I'm sure that you've been... Good afternoon. I'm sure that you've been following the conversation so far. We're talking about the ongoing protest and what the president and his team is doing to make sure that the protest does not continue and Nigerians are happy. I just want to put it to you. What do you think the government has to do when it comes to their exorbitant spending? Because I think that's one of the critical issues that is aggravating Nigerians. Nigerians feel like we cannot bear the brunt of a fuel subsidy and the aftermath and the implication of the economy, yet the people in government are, living lavishly. So would you recommend a cut down on government expenditure?
Obviously, yes. The whole issue that emanated that led to the issue of protests is not just a cry for help. It is also a call for action from all stakeholders, especially the people in the government. What the citizens want is just the basics. When you look at the Human Development Index currently, Nigeria is running at 40% poverty line. We need to look into the action plans. What does the government have so that the people will not just be head crying around? Because the issues are complex in Nigeria. We stand at crossroads whereby every decision we take today will determine our future tomorrow. Well in line, the federal government needs to cut its costs due to the fact that when a country is faced with a kind of economic crisis, you look at the regional instability amidst the fact that fuel subsidy has been removed. Well, the issues from the side of the government is straight to the fact that there is need to curb excess spendings and to also revamp the finance into the country. But however, the country must measure in line with the stakes of the people. What will be the impact on the people? I think the line is not properly drawn by the presidency, and that is the reason why I talked about action plan that needs to be transparent. There needs to be, people need to see the responsibility from the side of the government. When you have this kind of issues facing the dynamics of the country, inflation, when you look at the impact of the Naira devaluation, you can see that the short-term impact is hitting on our very fabric of our society. You can see protests, counter-protests, you can see accusations and counter-accusations. A lot of people have opinions to say, but however, we must look at the underlying issues. The underlying issues of fixing the CBN needs to refine its Naira policy to sink into the people, because the federal government must realize that the government is just a mere trustee of the welfare of the citizens, the lives and property of the citizens, and not just all about looking at the side of the government. You must compare it with the stakes of the people. That is why we have a government. The government should be made for the people. That is just one of it. So when you look at the expenditure of
just a moment there, Mustafa.
The issue of cutting down cost. Yes,
just a moment, Mustafa. I want to pick up from a statement you made, securing the lives of the citizen. How would you rate the way the military has handled the protest so far, especially in the northern region, from a legal perspective?
Well, when you look at the protest, at a point, there was some kind of guarantees starting from the protest that it has to be peaceful, but when it becomes a procession, some kind of reasonable restraints have to be applied, but to sustain the constitutional role of the country, sometimes the police, when overwhelmed, they may need assistance. Civil defense are there, but shouldn't escalate into the military coming on board. The military has a role, constitutional role, which is to protect the lives of the citizens and the country on air, on land and sea. But internal issues, I don't think it is proper for deployment of the military at all. It is unconstitutional. It does not guarantee the safety of anyone. However, we must put into consideration the acts of the people. We must exercise caution. The people must exercise responsibility also. But the bottom line is that deploying military is totally unconstitutional and should not be encouraged by anyone.
We're having a very important conversation around the August protest and what the president and his team is doing to make sure that they stop the protest and also to treat the very important issues that Nigerians are clamoring for. With me still in the studio is Adetun and of course Festus. So Adetun, I need to take a cue from one of the very salient points that the president raised in his speech, which was the issue of ethnic bigotry and how it has no place in our democracy and how it has no place in our nation. What is your take on that? I know that you're multilingual. You speak Yoruba, Igbo, and other languages. Even when you're pushing out your content, you use both languages, especially Yoruba and Igbo. What is your take on ethnic bigotry and how people are pushing certain agenda?
He's very correct about that. And I have to say this too. We Nigerians, in as much as we say the government is bad, we also have to understand that we're playing a key role in not only disgracing ourselves, we're separating ourselves when we're supposed to be together to fight this battle. The president was right. One thing I always say, I always use this word all the time, motherland. Not citizens of Nigerians, motherland. Whether you are Hausa, whether you are Igbo, whether you are Fulani, whether you are whatever you are, Ijebu, I am mixed Igbo and Yoruba, you have to understand that the map of Nigeria, we are still all under the map of Nigeria. And then we are all affected with the same problems. Whatever affects us here in Lagos, affects you in Kaduna and all of that. There might be regional challenges that each state are facing, but you should not bring ethnicity into anything called national problem. Because we have to stay as one. We must have one agenda, and that agenda is ending bad governance. Ending bad governance not because of our immediate benefit, because of our children at large. Hausas marry Igbo, Igbos marry Calabar. We're all one. So we cannot be talking, it is only when it comes to, challenging issues that we begin to remember that, oh, some people are Igbo, don't join, some people are Hausa. We cannot continue to do that. We must stay as one because we're all of the same motherland. We're all bound. We might have different fathers. Hausas have different fathers. This one has, we might have different fathers, but we are all born of the same motherland. And our motherland is she, and that is who we are. So we must push very hard to stop anything related to ethnicity when we are talking about a national issue that affects every one of us as Nigerians.
I totally agree with you on that. Festus, do you think today is the fourth day, but do you think the protest so far has had a credible impact? Some people would say that we have not gotten to the point where we have to stop the protest. So how would you assess the progress or lack of it thereof when it comes to this protest?
I think the protest is successful. From the first day, it was successful. I say this because before now, it seemed to me that the Nigerian government have largely outlawed peaceful demonstration by the citizens. Before now, it appears to me that the government are just critical of opposing voices. And when citizens are out on the street to say that they are not satisfied with the way and manner the government is running, it doesn't mean they hate the leadership of the country. That should not be leading to tribal sentiment or religious sentiment. It doesn't mean that I do not want President Tinubu to be my president. It simply means that I want my country to be better as it affects me. And despite the old threats from the authorities, including the traditional rulers, including the police, the military, the young Nigerian people were still on the streets and still asserted their right to peaceful demonstration. I think that alone is enough success as far as I'm concerned, because their voice were heard and the president answered, even though the answer the president gave is not the answer we really wanted. But I mean, our voice were heard, despite the fact, despite all means to suppress the voice of our people still marched on the streets in their numbers. And that is to tell you that despite the fact that the leadership of our country have taken our people for granted for too long, our people are now getting to understand that they have that power to hold the government accountable. And for me, I feel satisfied. And I feel comforted that, look, we are progressing as a people.
Yeah. I can see Adetu wants to add to that.
Adding to what you said,
yes,
I will say this is the most successful protest we've had. Ask me why.
Why?
There's a video that came up on the social media one time when the president said he doesn't listen to what they say on social media. They're always insulting him and he's not bothered. Very well. Now, even before we came out on the streets, they already heard that we wanted to do a protest. And normally, a lot of people always say I am close to the government, which is very true. But one thing I take from my father-in-laws and the leaders are, don't worry, when they finish shouting, they will keep quiet. But this time around, they didn't even want anybody to shout. So they heard, upon arrival of the information, did anybody write letters to the federal government that they were going to do a protest? If we had written letters, the letters would have taken months. Secretary would have taken it and kept it. But the same social media where they don't listen to us, where they ignore us and tell them, let them keep shouting. They only heard that there's going to be protest. They almost even went to bring our forefathers, all the obas, everybody they brought, traditional rulers. I was invited by the Commissioner of Police to the stakeholders meeting, and then they were discussing about telling the citizens not to protest, you know. In fact, when I got there, the kind of stores that I saw, calabash, traditional rulers came with off as if that was the day of the protest, which was not. So for me, I would say that this is the most successful protest because they could not even afford to ignore the cry that there was going to be a protest. They attacked it immediately and they were pleading that citizens should not protest. But I respect Nigerians for what they did. They still understood that it is their fundamental right to speak. And they've made us understand that the only way we can speak and then they can hear us is hitting the streets. So that dialogue thing that they even said, where were we supposed to dialogue with them? You mean all these politicians that have private, their social media handles are private, you DM them, they don't respond. Some of them feel if you come to the house, you're coming to beg for rice and money. You know, so my question is, where are we supposed to meet? We see during elections and after election, all of them, their cards are tinted, they cannot pick your calls, they've changed the numbers and everything. So definitely, the only meeting point and the meeting line between the government and the citizens is definitely on the streets.
So how would you now, because the president did say that it is now time for us to embrace dialogue. Now, do you think they are ready? Because you did mention that before the protests, we couldn't dialogue, and the only way the citizens could get the attention of the government...
It wasn't a business contract. We weren't stealing the property we were buying.
Exactly. So now, do you think the government is open to dialogue, and who are the people that the youths and the people of Nigeria should send to dialogue with the government?
In all fairness, it is still not a business transaction. The problems are visible, glaring, and clear. What are you dialoguing about? You want to dialogue with who? These problems are visible. The same way you people claim that you're working behind doors, you're doing a lot of paperwork and we have not seen it. It's the same way this hunger too, we have not seen the paperwork that you are doing. So the only dialogue that can reach here is, let there be equitable distribution of foodstuffs. Now the president said that there are no more custom charges on foods. How are we so sure that people can go to Cotonou and bring rice or whatever, they are importing foods and there will be no charges and custom charges and all of that? So for me, there is still no reason for dialogue. We can respect the president and say, okay, let's not burn all the cards. We have these protest cards to play for the next 8 years. Now we've done 3 days and it is obvious that they know that it is not an authoritarian style of parenting anymore. This is co-parenting. The citizens want to know what is going on in government. The citizen wants to know how far you have gone. The citizen wants to understand, okay, whilst we are waiting, what are you going to give us as small chops to at least make us understand that, okay, cool down, pull up. You see, this generation, it is called Sorosoke. And when you hear this young musician sing, mi o gbokpa, mi o gbokpo, I know you're waiting president, they talk, give them food. This food, if you are sharing, share it between APC, PDP, LP, Babalawo, Jewish, let everybody. Because when the president says that they've given them food, these foods are channeled towards their political parties. And then other parties don't get it. Listen, you see these chiefs that you called for meeting, send foods to the Obas. Tell everybody, Ikate, go to your Obao, Ondo, go to your Obao. Give these foods to them. Call church members, all these pastors, give these food to them. Call NGO, non-governmental organizations. We are the most and widespread people that connect to the roots. Give this food to them. You are giving this food that you still now give it to the same people in the political party, and some of them already have agenda against 2027. So they will use this same food and say, okay, let us give this food because these are the people that are going to vote for us. When you give palliative to politicians, we saw the woman who used our palliative to do birthday and she made photo shoot. So what is the difference? Sir, Your Excellency, if you want to give palliative, let them announce, let them drop a list, and then let these foods be shared. And as a matter of fact, CBN has our database. Unfortunately, I don't have a child who is a Nigerian citizen, and I know how my children get money from the government. They credit their account. These children have BVN. As a matter of fact, it is even faster. This our youth, they already have OPay and PAMPay. Put the money in the account. Don't send this money through anybody. Give CBN directives to credit this account. Then we can now say, okay, let us wait. Since our Messiah to fix this country, Jagaban is here, my father is here. Let us give him time. Let him continue to do the paperwork. He's a very intelligent man. But pending that time, waiting we see, give us what we hold our hunger. Now, to even make things more, to make it more pathetic, you see this government, these politicians, all they do is they share rice. We have minors, we have young children. I have never seen government give them pampers. I've never seen government give them infant formula. I've never seen government give them anything that can even make this our minors hold position. Our children, the rate of mortality is increasing, malnutrition is increasing. Our statistics are increasing on the international board. So our 1 year or 2 years are supposed to be eating rice. Sir, give them formula. There is Nestle in Nigeria. Let them give them formula. Even if they prepare pap, is it not milk they are going to put in the pap?
So there are lots of issues that you raised here. I mean, and one of those very important issues is how the government should proceed with distribution.
Equitable distribution
of palliatives. But we're going to hold that thought because part of the president's speech also made mention of the fact that the state and the local governments now have access to higher funds. But we're going to get to that.
The same local government you are talking about is still the same APC.
So
let them bring individual people, individual units, organizations in. Those are the kind of dialogues. Tell people if you have, you have a platform where we can distribute.
So
come on board.
Let's hold that thought because we're going to address it. But we need to quickly speak to Mustafa as to what exactly is happening in the north. Mustafa, you know that it's very evident that the northern states, are protesting way more than other regions of the country. And there has been a lot of speculations as to what the true intentions are. And would you say that the level of protest in the north is a reflection of how they perceive the current president and his cabinet? Or is there more to it?
Thank you very much. In my own opinion, from the northern perspective of the whole issue of protest that has been erupting, there are underlying issues that have ravaged the north, even before the removal of fuel subsidy and the devaluation of Naira. That is why you can see the far-reaching consequences is on the north. The impact is high. You can see the educational sector, a lot of children, school dropouts. The vulnerability is very high in the north. You can see Kano, you can see Yobe State. There are a lot of issues that are underlying the north, even before the subsidy came into place. What is the action plan of the government? Let the people know what you want to do so that we can now know that, okay, like the issue of farming, we have more than 15 million arable farms in the north, but I don't think statistically we can account for up to 1 million farmlands that are arable under crop rotation. Look at the cost of fuel. A lot of people are not into irrigation farming anymore due to cost of fueling of their farmlands. Farm irrigation has almost ceased. So a lot of things are at stake in the north, and the transborder regional crisis in the transborder area is there. The Naira is not gaining any momentum, and the issue of trading has also stopped at a halt, even though you can see a lot of issues surrounding the subsidies, not just on transportation. It goes down to security of the lives of and property of the people. People no longer feel safe. People want to see action plans. The government should bring something on board so that they can dialogue, so that they can have far-reaching and enabling environment. That is what the Constitution talks about. When the Constitution talks about the security of life and property, it's not talking about deploying policemen or military men to secure anybody's life and property. After all, it is the politicians that are overwhelming with the security architecture. So what I think is that there should be an enabling environment so that we can have investment in farming. We can see that by the time, during the rainy season, people tend to farm a lot. You can see a lot of activities going on. But during the food dry farming, the cost of food production is very, very, very high, and it's causing a lot of trouble in the country. What does the government have to tell these people to address the issue imminently? The short-term goals are far-reaching consequences in the north, and you can't take that away because that is the regional businesses that we can try to leverage upon.
So we're almost out of time. We're almost out of time. We also want to make sure that we don't just talk about the issues, but we also prefer the solution, because, I mean, platforms like this could also enhance this dialogue that we so desire. So what would be your, recommendation, short-term recommendation, something that the government should implement in latest 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, that will sort of address these issues that you just outlined?
Thank you very much. The issue of local government autonomy will reach to the grassroots. So that's an issue to applaud the government. You have to recognize that effort by the government to ensure that the state governors don't devour the Supreme Court judgment, so that we get to apply what we have on ground. Let the welfare of the citizens be taken care of. It's not about one man and his family, because there are some constitutional issues that have to do with immunity of state governors. What do the federal government have to do to ensure that the state governor don't take back what is going to the local government? And what is the government doing to ensure that the local government is also doing its part to ensure people get what they are deserving in terms of their welfare? These are things that already are on table. But you cannot talk about dialogue when the government is not bringing something to the table to be exploited. And looking at the dynamics in the north, the population is high, the stakes are high, the consequences are far-reaching. So the short-term goals, as I recommend, is this local government autonomy is something to applaud the government, but something has to be done. What should be done is what the government need to come and tell us. I don't have the solution, because corruption is a deep root.
Thank you very much, Mustafa.
State affairs. Nobody's holding.
Yes. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Sadly, we're out of time, but thank you so much for coming on the program. Thank you. And we have exactly 30 seconds each for our closing statement. So I'm going to start with you first, Ossi. What would you say?
I think the government should immediately cut the cost of governance. And that would start by reducing drastically the number of ministers and other cost of governance. Office of the First Lady, Office of the First Son, Office of the First Daughter. And, I mean, the government has to cut the cost of governance.
Thank you.
I think with that, we would have a pathway.
Thank you, Adetu.
So, first of all, the government needs to... the government is not about Tinubu only. From the lowest, all local government councils, House of Assembly, governors, get closer to your people. Let them be more visible. The more they see you, the more patient they can become. And then also the cost of feeding. The First Lady is telling us to go and plant vegetables. Esma, one tata share is 200, 500 naira. What are we going to use to cook the vegetable? Are we going to be drinking smoothie for the next 6 months before the government is ready? The cost of food is keen and important right now, and they should make equitable distribution of this, because this food are already on ground. They should make it fast, direct, and connected to the common man on the street. And some of us can afford 3 square meals. These people cannot afford 3 square meals. But the consequences of neglecting them still budges down on every one of us at large. So the earlier the government understands that, let these government officials open up their handles and how to reach them. Open up for communication, open up for negotiation, open up for people who have intellects, who have ideas, and then they want to share with you so that this governance can be easy. Let it be available and let food be on the table whilst the government is working on the paperwork that they are doing. We are also waiting for the paperwork, but we need food to hold belly while the paperwork will be effective.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you for coming on the program. We've had such a robust conversation, and we truly hope and we pray, and we also speak to the government directly. Let it not just be lip service. We need to see implementation of some of the things that you've already said that you would do. Rubbin Mind continues after this break.
Don't just stand there teasing me. Now it's time.
Welcome back to Rubbin Minds. We just finished having a robust conversation with well-meaning Nigerians as regards to the August protest and what we should do moving forward. And here is my personal take. Last week, I already said that whatever side of the divide you belong to, whether you're supporting the protest or you're not supporting the protest, the critical thing for us to do at this point in time is to come on one page, which is Nigeria is our own. There is no other country we can call ours. So I would like to use this opportunity to call on the youths of this country to make sure that we do everything within our power and within the constitutions and within the confines of the law to make sure that our voices are being heard. We would like to also discourage every form of violence in any sphere, in any region. It should not be tolerated in this democratic dispensation. And to all those that want to use this opportunity to push their political agenda, as youths, we strongly say no to that. Now, on the July 30th, the entertainment industry was thrown into mourning as we lost an icon, a legend, Onyeka, Onwenu. We've had so many beautiful memories of this iconic human that lived on planet Earth. A wise man once said that the beauty of life does not depend on how happy you are, but how happy others are because of you. And as much as we are very sad and we are sorrowful that she has passed on, we also take great delight in the fact that she lived a very exemplary life. And we had the rare privilege of having her on Rubbin Minds in 2018, and we would just want to pay a tribute to her by playing this video. My name is Hero Daniels, and we're going to leave you with this tribute to Onyeka Onwenu.
Singer, songwriter, actress, journalist, and activist Onyeka Onwenu was born in May 1952 and first gained prominence in Nigeria as a journalist with a degree in international relations and communication from the Wellesley College in Massachusetts and a master's degree from the New School of Research in New York. Onwenu left a career at the United Nations to return to join the NTA. During her time there, she championed the causes of the Niger Delta. Onwenu began her music career in 1981 while still working with the NTA, releasing the album For the Love of You and charting successfully through the 80s and 90s. She expanded into film, joining Nollywood and winning the African Movie Academy Award for Best Actress in a Supporting Role in 2006. In 2014, she was in the movie Half of the Yellow Sun with Chiwetel Ejiofor and Tandy Newton. She also had a short but memorable period as a host on the Nigerian version of The X Factor and a segue into politics in the 2010s. Onwenu is considered a living Nigerian legend and cultural icon. Originally a secular artist, she now sings mainly gospel music and continues to write and sing about issues such as health, including HIV and AIDS, peace and mutual coexistence, respect for women's rights and the plight of children. She has a latest effort titled Inspiration for Change and is set to release a new album, Rebirth of a Legend, in November. I'm excited to be sitting down with Onyeka Onwenu today, broadcaster, musician, actress. Onyeka, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm excited about this conversation because your story is so rich in so many ways. So I want to get straight into it and start unpacking it. I want to go back to your singing from the womb, you know, being born into an artistic family. Your mother is a musician, or she sang and she acted, and so was your father. He loved music. And, you know, tell me what was it that you're in broadcasting at the time, you have a talent for music and a passion for music. What caused you to make the switch?
It was a no-brainer, really, because everyone who knew me growing up, who knew my parents, knew that I had this talent which I had inherited from my maternal grandfather.
Yes.
And then my mother, being who she was, knew that I would end up doing what I was doing. But in my family, education was critical, most important.
Yeah.
Whatever else you want to do, get your education. So the family would insist you go to school. And once I'd done my master's, and they said, okay, I think we will let you off at this stage. You can really choose what you want to do with your life. And that was when I went professional.
Yes.
But my mother was very encouraging, God bless her soul. And she would always say to me, don't forget your music, don't forget your music.
So as we talk about your education, I mean, you're foreign educated, went to some of the best universities in the world. How central of a role did your education play in your planning out your career as a musician?
It played a huge role. I couldn't have attended Wellesley College without coming out with the feeling that I could go out and change the world. That's what Wellesley women do.
Yes.
Look at Mrs. Clinton. I mean, she could have won that. She won that election.
Yes.
Hello, but it's in you. If I go back to my growing up with the kind of mother I had, Ochedike was a strong, powerful Igbo woman who put up with so much tragedy in her life and raised her children and maintained a personal life that I admired. She could speak her mind. She could walk into a place by herself, take over the whole atmosphere. That was my mom. So having that, being brought up by such a woman, and then having Wellesley College, I couldn't but use my talent to do more than just showcase myself. You're given a talent for a reason, and I was taught this from an early age because my mom used to teach me these songs, and we would do duets, and she would take me to places where we raised money for motherless babies' homes. I mean, she'd put me on the table and stand next to me because I was so small. But I learned that the talent was for something bigger. And that's what I've done with my career. Yes, I sing about love, it's a beautiful thing, but I also sing about issues. I use my celebrity, so to speak, to draw attention to issues that concern women and girls and those who cannot speak for themselves. That is why you are given the talent. That is what is fulfilling about the profession that I'm in.
Why the specific passion for women? There's so many causes that you could have used your platform to advocate for. Was it because you grew up with a single mother that you felt, it was relatable to you, it was natural, and you wanted to play that mother figure to other women out there?
I think that had a lot to do with it. By age 36, my mother had become widowed for the second time. Her first husband died just a year after they got married. Very hard. She had a knack for marrying handsome men. The guy was dark, handsome, rich, the whole shebang. And just a year, he died. And then she married my father, self-made man. Went to Fura Bay and Durham University. They spent time apart while he was struggling to train himself. And then he comes back. Becomes the first R&D Zogo man in the Federal House of Assembly. And just 2 weeks before he was to become the Minister for Education for Nigeria, he dies in a motor car accident. So at 36...
Don't just stand there teasing me. Now it's time.